Hi, everybody. Welcome to another episode of HSP TV. I am your host, Barbara, and today I'm joined by the wonderful Kaelin Ball. And we are going to be talking about how to stop fighting your light. And for those of you that might wonder what does that mean, it's about stopping fighting who you really are on the inside, and the rest we are going to disclose in our talk today. So stay tuned and help me welcome Kaylin to our show today. Welcome, Kaylin. It's a pleasure having you today.
Thank you. I'm so excited and I appreciate the opportunity to just have a chat with you and your viewers. I'm really appreciative.
We also appreciate that you are here and especially that you come and talk about this topic because I think that this is a struggle that most of us go through, although it might look very different depending on person to person. But often the essence of the struggle is very similar. And we pre-talked, of course, already, and I know already a little bit about your story, and you know a little bit about mine. And there are already similarities in there, although our stories are completely different. So I'm very happy that you came to talk about this today because I think it's important that we talk about things like this because I remember when I was going through my transformation and where I was doubting myself and didn't know which way was up anymore, that I thought I was the only one going through something like this. And that's not true.
Yeah. No, it's not. And that's the thing is um, even though we're gonna talk primarily about intuitive abilities and spiritual gifts and all of those things, it's also about stop fighting the light within yourself, right? So, like, I was born with a rare disease. I was born with my birthmark. So, this big heart-shaped hallmark of who I am is a representative of me. And I thought it for a very long time, right? Society wants you to cover it up and wear makeup or put yourself down and all of those things. And I think we do that with spirituality too, right? We hide our gifts. We hide the fact that we can, know that someone's relative is over their shoulder after passing, that, I channel when I'm writing. And that was something that used to be very scary. Um, and I had a really bad experience when I really started first channeling. So, we're trained to hide, we're trained to stay in the darkness and cover up, but it's in the light that we make the world better. It's in that moment when we give over to ourselves, to that spirit, to
Mhm.
that gift that we actually um shine the brightest. And we should be proud as women or men or however you identify to be yourself and to be that light in the world. Because there's just way too much darkness.
Yes, and I think I strongly believe we come into this work perfect, and we are self-confident, and we don't doubt our abilities, and we are just who we are. That's our
Yeah.
natural inclination, and as children, that is awesome. And as little children, I think we also don't bully each other. So I can imagine that when you were younger, you were accepted by other children and not really ostracized as much as maybe at a later age.
Yeah. Um, I think, I think it was hard for the parents, right? Because our parents always want us to fit in and be perfect and to have friends. And so, there are parents who have kids with disabilities that are kind of over controlling and they're helicoptering and they're like, okay, well, like my mom would go and talk to my teachers and be like, make sure that, so and so doesn't, be mean to Kaylin and all of that. But like I currently work at a supermarket or like a grocery store. So I see lots and lots of people all throughout the day.
Right.
And, it's the kids that are, 4, 5, 6, when they start socializing with other kids that we tend to measure what's wrong or what's different, right? And it depends on how the parents teach their children how they react. So, again, I think it's a really exciting time that we're in now because not only is intuition and spiritual gifts and all of those things starting to become more open, but we're becoming more open as a society of like, heck, it's okay to be different, right? Like, she's absolutely just as beautiful as anybody else. Um, and even though sometimes I tease that I'm a unicorn because I have a rare disease and I'm, the only one out there, unicorns are these beautiful gifts of, purity and light and protection. And I think, you know, I and I think you're exactly right too, is children don't intend to be mean. It's on the environment and how they're parented and the environment they're around. So I think it's really important for people to forgive themselves for that too, right? They had no control when they were 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, um, how they reacted. Or, um, I know there are smaller children who, have those intuitive gifts. They have the mediumship. They actually have friends that they play with that have passed on that, is overlooked. And I hope that we are teaching future generations how to love and embrace that because that is scary, but it's also really, really great to have. Um, and
Yes.
I wish I had been able to be open to that more when I was younger, right? So,
Yes, I can get that. I've also been bullied for most of my life, although you might not
yeah,
say it when you look at me. So, and maybe not to the extent of you. Everybody has their own story, but
absolutely.
as soon as we go to school and as soon as society starts to get involved, then there are all of these rules. I call them the rules, the bullshit rules of life about how you're supposed to act, what you're supposed to look like, what you're supposed to do, how you're supposed to be around people. And children mimic their parents. So when they see their parents behave in a certain way, children start behaving in a certain way. And
Yeah,
they learn by doing, they learn by example, and when they learn it the wrong way, then they take it to school. And school can
right.
be a very harsh place. And if you are then also in general already different from everybody else without looking different, but in the way you think, in the way you experience things,
Mhm.
in what is important to you, in how your mind works, maybe how your body looks. You can be different in many many different ways. Then you start doubting yourself because you do
Yeah.
not feel in if, you don't fit into the mold of how you're supposed to look or what you're supposed to be doing or how you're supposed to be behaving. And in the beginning, when we haven't learned to be self-confident and to get to know ourselves really well, we try to change ourselves because we think,
Mhm.
oh, maybe I need to be a little bit more this, or if I'm a little bit nicer, then maybe my parents will love me, or if I am a little bit more like everybody else, maybe I won't be bullied as much, or any of these types of beliefs that arise when we are met with, well, resistance as a consequence of the bullshit rules of life.
Right. Exactly. Well, and that's the thing, right? Is, it is all just bullshit. Because we I feel like, there's been this history of making other people small so that we feel bigger or more important. But it just is, it just shows how small that person themselves is and how much more they need to learn. And that's the thing to remember, right? Is like we're all on this planet, our soul has this journey for so many different reasons. Some of us are new and we're just learning. And, they don't know the experiences that I've had or that you've had or somebody else who is older on that soul cycle has had. And so I've always had the compassion to love people, um but again, that's because I've been through more than a few lifetimes and life is hard, and so we just kind of have to be open and say like, you know what? I forgive you. I love you. I hope you find whatever it is that you need to learn on this journey, on this path, this lifetime, because I don't need to keep that. And that was a hard lesson for me, especially when I was younger, right? As an empath, I would keep people's emotions. I was dealing with my own of, right, being judged by people, of, not dating when I was 15 or 16, like you're supposed to in society, not feeling beautiful, all of those things. Um, but it's also just the fact that like everybody's on their own path and you gotta love them. So
Yes.
you don't have to love them. You can choose not to. But but
No,
it's
but
but
that
it's something we're here to learn too, though, right? Of how to love unconditionally and how to have compassion for people. And you also have to learn like how to not keep somebody's anger or frustration or whatever that's not yours, because it's not yours and you don't have to keep it.
No, but I think that that starts with loving yourself. If you
Mhm.
fill yourself up with so much love for yourself, so much appreciation for who you truly are, the person that you know that you are deep down, and that starts with getting to know that person that you are deep
Yeah.
down very well, then in the end, it doesn't really matter if other people don't see that beauty, as long as you see that beauty. And if you feel comfortable in your skin and you've accepted everything
Mhm.
that is yourself, then if other people have a different opinion, then yeah, this might sound harsh, but then that's their problem.
Yeah. Exactly. And it was a hard lesson for me. I was truly blessed that I had a mentor who was a former fashion photographer that I met when I was 13. And he,
Wow.
was the first person who really truly saw me as gorgeous and beautiful. And, in seeing those pictures he took and seeing the light that I had from within me, just in a photograph, like changed my world. Um, you know, and finding that self-confidence and that self-esteem is really hard. It doesn't matter whether you're Heidi Klum and like one of the most beautiful women in the world, or you're me, or you're somebody else, or you're just yourself. I mean, I can't even imagine what it would be like to feel like you're not in the right body or the right skin. I mean, that has to be insane. Um, but it's one of those things that once you do truly find yourself, you find the light in your smile, in your eyes, in how you love people. That's when you start to, again, like live in the light and the joy, and it makes life so much easier. You're like, yeah, I don't have to be someone else for anybody else, because I have to look at myself in the mirror and see that beauty, and see that light. So yeah,
Yes, and
it's
there
it's
are
it's it's been a journey, right? I mean, like in my 20s, I was like, I'm not enough, I'm not pretty enough, no one's dating me, and now that I'm almost 40, I'm like, yeah, no, it's all about me. I'm fine. I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be. I'm exactly how I'm supposed to be. Um, and that's kind of like the life cycle, right? Too, as we go through those, like we were just talking about before we started, we have those cycles in life when things get really, really tough and we have those transitions, but then we know on that other side, it's going to be awesome. And there's that joy and the light and just the happiness
yeah.
and just insight, right?
Yes, and it is something that you have to work towards because it doesn't
Absolutely.
automatically come when you do nothing. And there are really beautiful people who have a very black soul, who I wouldn't want as my friends. Though the outside package looks gorgeous, the
Mm-hmm.
inside package is horrible. And I
Absolutely.
think that when you accept yourself, so getting to know yourself, accepting yourself in every form, shape, and facet that is yourself, that sort of unlocks your love for yourself. And as soon as you feel this deep love, this deep appreciation for yourself, that is what strongly lights your inner light. And your inner
Yeah.
light is always there, but self worry, self doubt, keeping yourself small, all of these things are also dimming your light because you're still too worried about what other people think, what other people will say, how you will come
Yeah.
across, if you will be liked, whatever. But if you can reach a point, and again, that takes work, that doesn't happen when
Yeah.
you do absolutely nothing, then it is possible to get to a point where you are so content and happy with yourself, within yourself, with your life, that you become beautiful because your light shines out of every pore of yourself.
Yes. Yes. Sorry if you guys can hear the dogs. But yeah, and again, that's the thing about how we learn in seeing ourselves, right? Is so now that I've seen the light, now that I've embraced the light, I'm not fearing the times that I channel. I'm not fearing the times that I can see or feel, someone around. Um, I know people are more attracted to that light. So you do have to be careful of like when the dark and the shadows come and try to like take that. But you also know that you're making life better, right? Like, I can tell when someone is having a really hard day. Like one of my regular shoppers has MS. And, so I could tell she was having a really hard day that day. And, she was really tired and exhausted and ticking. And I just like, I sent her some of that light and that healing. And we had a talk and she knew that, she was loved and accepted as she was. You know, we never truly know the impact you make on someone. Like seeing them, on the street when your cars are together and you're traveling somewhere, and even just glancing at them and smiling can make that better. Um, it's just it definitely you just never truly know, when I have someone tell me like, you know, thank you for, your smile or the laugh or, like when someone said I love you the other day when I was checking them out and I was like, oh, thank you. No one says that. And I was like, thank you for that random act of kindness. That's what we're here for, is to um embrace those little moments.
Yeah, but we all, well, not always, not always, but we often have a distorted view of ourselves. I remember
Hmm.
first time that one of my clients told me, "Oh, but you are so successful and you're so inspirational, and I love what you do, and I want to be you when I grow up." Well, I was still feeling like I had nothing figured out, and I didn't even know where I
Absolutely.
was going. Felt not so secure in what I was doing, and I was like, "Really? That's how you see me? Oh, that's really
Oh,
nice to hear." And so, and I think this is just the story of life. I think everybody has something like this, where you feel something about yourself, and when you ask other people how they see you, it's very different. I had an exercise that was given to me, and so if you're listening and watching, then I'd like to extend the same exercise to you, and that was to ask. Five people, a minimum of five people, 10 would be even better, to tell you what they like best about you. And this was so surprising. It took me some courage the first time to ask, because you're asking people to tell you what they think about you. And this can be very confrontational, especially if you still need to do some self work, or when you're not really feeling all that great about yourself. But the answers were really awesome. They really boosted my self confidence. And it was really great to see and to read how you come across for other people. It was a huge motivator also in adopting those beliefs, to start seeing myself in the same light.
yeah. That's such a cool exercise. Because again, you don't realize, you know, how people see you. There are so many good things that we put ourselves down for, right? And those are learned behaviors from our parents, from our family, from our relationships. We're used to, um, and especially if you've had any type of trauma, if you've had any bad experiences, the things that really affect us as a person, um, those can be really hard to get through and to transform from. Um, and I've had trauma just because of, my birthmark and how I am. And, I went through a lot of stuff as a baby that I don't remember, that I know about.
Mm.
Um, but then there's just been life and relationships, and everybody has those different struggles that help them grow. Um, but you have to, that's the hard part, right? Is like it's so easy to stay stuck in the darkness, in the negative, in those negative mind loops of, oh, I'm ugly, no one's gonna date me, no one's gonna love me, like people might think I'm crazy or I'm psychotic because I have, these gifts and these abilities. And I went through an episode like that. I know, someone who had gone through years of being in a psych ward because they didn't understand, gender transition back in whenever it was, but it was like 20, 30 years ago. Like it was a long time, and this person was like in and out of the psych ward. Like it's just that it's so much easier to put people down for things you don't understand than it is to actually be like, what, I trust this is your truth and this is your experience, so how can we help you through that? So, and I know that got a little muddy there for a minute, but again, it's there's that darkness, and that person could have chosen to stay in the darkness. I could have chosen to stay in the darkness, when I was having my psychotic experience. But God and, the angels and, my spirit guides and all those people that love us, that are here to protect us and keep us going and moving forward, were the ones who actually saved me and got me through. And I'm really, really blessed for that too. So,
Yes. And it
yeah.
can also be difficult to keep the faith, right? To
Oh,
keep
absolutely.
the softness. It's very easy also to become frustrated or even angry or depressed or
Hmm.
all of these
Hmm.
emotions. And there's also no shame in any of these emotions. Emotions are energy in motion, and they are meant to be felt, they're meant to be expressed, and they're meant to be worked through. The
Hmm.
problem comes when you either ignore them, stuff them down, pretend they're not there, or just never deal with them at all. That is
Yeah.
when emotions become problems. But it's important to to work through all of this to find this inner peace, inner balance where you are just you.
Right. And that's the scariest part, is becoming you and seeing yourself as you, right? Like it's, we tend to stick to the fear and the side that we know, right? Like I always say, like the grass is greener on the other side. And sometimes it is, but we're so afraid of the other side. And we're so afraid of the things that we see, the feel, the independence that we have, the clarity that we have. Um, and again, like I was stuck in that darkness for a good 5 years. So while I was like, being like, okay, well, I don't want to channel because I have all these bad memories. I don't want to, believe that, I am an angel, or, that we have that light and that we have these beings around us that protect us and love us. Um,
Yes.
but it's just once you jump, once you let go of the fear, you know that you're safe. You know that you're always going to be protected, right? Like, even when I have bad days at work and I have a child like talk to me about how overgrown my lip is, or, oh my God, why are you different? Like, I have that reminder of like, I just get to know that like I'm here to help that person feel loved. And like I am able to remember like all of the people who have loved me and helped keep me going when I was at the lowest. And the lowest of the lows is really, really scary. But it's when we reach the bottom that we're able to look up and see the light, right? If you're always looking down, all you see is darkness. You have to trust in yourself and just feel like, I'm gonna fall and it's gonna be really sucked, but I'm gonna flop back over and get up and look, there's sunlight. And um it's you're never alone, it's
It
you
can
just
feel
you have
that way.
to have faith. Yeah.
Yes. It can feel like you're very alone. It can feel like you're in a dark place. I was just talking about it today, actually, where I think most of us need to get to this very uncomfortable place to hit
Mhm.
the rock bottom where the only way is up, because otherwise there is not enough motivation to actually change or start working on yourself. That is what I'm seeing with lots of people. And it can also look like you're working on yourself, but you're still running away from the truth. I've had had that with clients as well, that they want to work with me. And then as soon as we got
Yeah.
to the shadow side of themselves, then the things that came up were things that they were not prepared to look at. It made them feel so uncomfortable that
Yeah.
they ran away from it.
Yeah. No. And I had a, I recently had a crush, who, again, like I saw I fell in love with his higher self. I knew, the person that his soul was.
Mhm.
But yet he was a former heroin addict and did fentanyl, did all those things, nearly died. And then now that he's better, he still, does mushrooms and weed and alcohol and still not facing the fears and the battles and the feelings, right? He's still choosing to stay stuck. And it's so hard to be in that place. And exactly like you said, right? It's like once you start investigating the shadows, there are people that choose to just be like, all right, yeah, no, I don't want to fix that. I don't want to work on that. I don't want to feel happy. I want to continue to self-abuse, to, you know, just stay in the darkness. And the darkness is so depressing. You're alone, right? It's but at the same time, there's going to be a moment when you're ready to drop all of that and be like, yeah, no, I'm tired of being in the darkness, of feeling alone, of abusing myself, of not loving myself, and he'll get there. Or you'll get there whenever you feel like it is. But it's there are people out there in the world that will come to you and offer, and you just gotta say, okay, yeah, let's do it. I'll take that hand that you're offering me. And that comes in time.
But there's also something that you need to realize that the more you shine your light, the more you will also attract moth to your
Oh
flame.
yes, absolutely.
And they often come to you because they need to learn something, and you often also learn something from them. And so I love what you're saying
Yeah.
because I thought I had found the love of my life 2 years ago, and the first year was really beautiful, and then his family interfered, and I
Hmm.
realized that he wasn't ready for the next step, but he also helped me get clear on what I am ready for and what I want to invite into my life. And it
Absolutely.
was a difficult thing to deal with because I had found everything I was looking for and had to let it go again. Uh,
Yeah.
I'm happy that you said I fell in love with her higher self because that is, I think, also what it felt like for me. Sometimes you can just see the beauty in someone, the
Yeah.
possibility in someone, and can fall deeply in love with that possibility, with the person that you know that they are. But it doesn't
Yeah.
always mean that in this current life they are ready to be that person.
Yes. And it hurts, right? But like you said, you learned, so many more things about yourself, and it's helping you become that better version of who you are, right? Are you're learning how to love you, right, that much more. And it's always, I feel like it's always going to be that battle of, like, okay, well, I don't want to be alone, I don't want to be lonely, but at the same time you want someone who truly sees that light, cherishes that light, nurtures it, and helps you become the highest and best version of yourself, right? Like it's and again, sometimes we fight that light, like, well, the last relationship that I had just kind of started being more vocal about being intuitive and, the tarot cards and astrology and meditation and all those things. And that's not something that I would have told somebody 5, 10 years ago, but that's who I am. It gives me calm. It gives me peace. It makes me feel happy and joy. And why would you want to be with someone that puts that down, that, hides that? And again, family, we won't go there, but yeah, family is a really big thing too. So
I think that that is something that comes with spirituality. I still see so many people who are, for me, being alone and being lonely are two different things. Being
yeah,
alone is
absolutely.
just the state of what you are. There are no other people in this room, so I am alone. There are no other people living in this house, so I live alone. So that for me is alone. And loneliness is the feeling you get when you have a desire that is different from the reality. So if you desire to be around other people, if you desire to share your life with other people, and that is not the case, then yes, you can feel lonely. And it is also possible to be okay most of the time and have bouts in which you feel loneliness. But I think
Absolutely.
when you start to awaken, when you start letting out your light and start discovering how valuable you are, how beautiful you are, where you also stop being open for, I've never been open for one night stands, but for things like that, right? Where you have a brief encounter because it's no longer about, or it might never have been about things like that, and where you value yourself too much to just open yourself up to just anyone because they also come
Yeah.
with their energy. And if you've done a lot of work on yourself and you've healed a lot of your shadows and you've moved yourself into a position in your life where you're happy most of the time, and yes, it would be nice if someone special came and joined your life, but you're also really happy just being by yourself, then you don't accept just anybody anymore because it's very easy then to become overwhelmed again by their negativity, their negative energies, their patterning, wounding, and such. And I don't know how it is for you, but I'm done being somebody's mother. I'm done
Yeah.
being somebody's housekeeper, and I don't need a child.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and I think for me, because I never really dated when I was younger. I always long it's I'm still not sure if it was because I saw the person, like my person when I was so young. Um, and that's, or if that's something that I use. I think a part of it is I use it as an escape mechanism because I had to do so many like medical operations and I had so many people bullying me and nobody wanted to date me and all that stuff when I was younger, right? So there's part of that escape mechanism that I had to deal with growing up, but it was also to I always just kind of had this feeling that I knew who he was and I knew who they would be when they came. And I thought I had found that person,
Mhm.
but I found my twin flame and that didn't work out because it's a twin flame and it's very intense and very different. And he wasn't ready. Like I thought, like you said, like I was like, all right, I will happily be your third wife. I will be your forever wife. Like we're good. But he didn't have the strength or the courage to
Yeah.
go through that healing process so that we could get there, right? Um,
Same story as
and
mine, yeah, in the
it
end. Yeah,
it's
and
it's
the
just it's
conditions
so
might
hard.
be different, but it is indeed
Yeah.
someone is not ready to also step into that level. And what I've learned is it depends a bit on your purpose, your soul's
Mhm.
mission here on earth,
Yep.
what type of role you're meant to be fulfilling, how much you need to grow and evolve. And the more you grow, the more you evolve, more difficult I think it becomes to find someone who can be your equal on the same level.
Mhm. And I think that's the part that scared me too, right? Is I've always known that my path is to be a speaker of some sort. So whether that's self-esteem, self-acceptance, self-love, I've always been outspoken about my disease and all of those things since a very young age. So I've always needed someone who is very secure in me potentially being like the breadwinner, being the public figure, and that's really hard for a lot of people. And so I'm still just starting to kind of get more comfortable with like, okay, like I'm good. I don't have to have that companion just because society says like, oh well, you're not you know, this person without one. I'm like, no, like we're good. Like, this is my path. And so I've been, listening to that voice that says, all right, no, you need to channel all these feelings out. You need to channel your book that that you've been avoiding for the last 15 years because that's your soul contract, but you got to do it. So, it's so freeing when you listen to that, when you follow that path, right? You find the people that will uplift you. You find the hobbies that, make you feel complete or comforted or, like you were talking about crocheting. Like a lot of people will do that to help with anxiety or, you know, to help kind of release some of those emotions sometimes. And I'm still kind of figuring out what that is. But for me, I mean, definitely channeling is that thing. My writing is the thing that helps me release that. So, all right, maybe you're worried about, somebody finding a journal that you have on the bedside table. Like, I have been using the talk to text feature on my laptop recently just because, again, of my vision and that helps my body relieve all of those emotions so that it's not trapped. Like there's so many different ways. Some people will make jewelry, some people will, make tarot decks, they'll
Awesome.
draw, they'll paint, they'll sculpt, they'll do whatever. Exactly. And so you know what's in there. So why are you so afraid to like let that part of you out and release it?
I think it also has to do with the bullshit rules again, right? I was always
Absolutely.
to choose one thing and do one thing. And even now, I sold my house, so I'm moving into an RV and I'm going to travel. And that meant I needed to register my business somewhere else because I'm losing this address. And they said to me, "Oh, but you do this, and you do that, and you do that, and that, and that, and that, and that, and that, and we cannot register it like this. You need to choose one or two things, otherwise we cannot provide you with an address." And I thought, you are not the one that gets to decide what my business does. I am the one
Exactly.
that's deciding what my business does and what my activities are. And I have discovered about myself that I am a multi-talented and also multi-passionate person, and I love doing lots of different things, and I turn to be out to be good in lots of different things. And I think it's a shame not to make money with all of those things when people are asking for it.
Yes, absolutely. And again, when you meet strangers in the road, like, sometimes you can kind of tell if they're more open to the woo, right? Like, I was talking with somebody about a spiritual expo that, I usually go to like twice a year. And she's like, "Oh, but I've always been afraid of tarot, because I'm just worried that like, somebody's gonna tell me that somebody's gonna die." I'm like, no, because a good spiritual healer or a spiritual gift person isn't going to tell you that. It's like kind of in the rules that you learn over time. Like it's you want it for the highest and best good. Like, I can tell when somebody needs a hug, but I'm also not going to like hug someone that doesn't want to get hugged.
One, yeah.
Right, so you always and you kind of and you learn and you feel and sometimes you're like, yeah, you know what, okay, so probably shouldn't have told that thing to that person. They didn't really feel comfortable talking about their dead ancestor while at the grocery store, but like it just that's how you learn too, right? It's in the mess, in the mud, that we figure out if we actually liked mud. I always liked playing in mud in my backyard when I was younger. I've always liked wearing, glittery, sparkly shoes, and I've loved crystals. And it was one of those things that my mom kind of squashed down, like, why do you want to wear the ruby red slippers? Like, why do you like the sparkle? Like, my mom is very tan and dark chocolate, and I'm whites and blues. And, it's just, it's tough. But once you find that joy, you're like, this is like addictive, right? It's
Yeah.
exotic. It's just, it's awesome. My word is missing. It's not toxic, but it's the other, it's like that high feeling of like, oh yes, this is so good. And then you just want more of the light and the
Is it
good
even a
and
shame
yeah.
that we have this when we are children and that we lose it along the way,
Mhm.
and that as adults we sort of have to refine it? And because we
Yes.
had this joy and we had this imagination and we had this creativity and we did all of those things with our imaginary friends or baking pies with sand or
Yeah.
whatever it was that we did, and we didn't think in limitations or what someone would think about it or
Mhm.
how it would be received by society. No, if it sparked our joy, we did it. And that is
Absolutely.
why I love teaching people their user manual, their blueprint, because it tells you a lot about how you are designed designed to be. And the majority of people are people who are designed to only do things that light them up. But as a responsible adult, we often don't do that because we have responsibilities. And
Yes.
that is the start of an unhappy life. And yeah, then we hit rock bottom and we discover that our happy life isn't so happy at all. And we sort of have
Yeah.
to learn how to be happy in our life again.
Yeah, you want and I found the word. It's intoxicating, right? You want to find that intoxicating high
Yes.
that makes you feel joy and happy. And so yeah, yeah, if you're playing with Play-Doh, like and your kids are in school or whatever, great. You know what? Like nobody's gonna know. There's no need to feel judgment. Like if it makes you happy to have, something squishy or creepy crawly or have the crystals, like go for it. You're just gonna feel so much safer. And sometimes it's even, in wearing those like glittery shoes to the grocery store that makes you happy, that makes you feel like safe and in yourself. And that is the greatest gift you can ever give yourself, right? Is feeling that love and that confidence, that you're you, and
Well,
we all
that
deserve that.
we need to find our inner spark. We need to find our inner joy,
Mhm.
our inner child, but the
Yeah,
joyful child, not the abused, traumatized child. And we
right, exactly.
play more, where we just let out who we are. And that is, I think, to circle back to our topic, the essence of shining your light, whatever your
Yeah,
light looks like.
absolutely.
Yes.
And it's a fun experience, right? You get to relearn what it is that makes you happy. Like, like go and play games. Like, I've always liked board games, but no one will play them with me. That's why people will do like Dungeons and Dragons or, just playing solitaire on the computer, whatever, I mean, but you're just so worthy of that love and that self-love and the light and just the happiness that we've been hiding for so long. I encourage you to just take the leap, like for every person watching this, that, Barbara and I are totally there with you and giving you high fives and hugs. And I will, sprinkle fairy dust over you or whatever it is that you need to laugh and giggle and have that joy back because it's so good.
Yes, for sure. So if you've been watching, if you've been listening, thank you. I love that you're here and I love your support for this channel. I hope you thought this was an amazing interview. We would love to hear from you. If you'd like to share your story in the comments, then we would definitely read all of them and respond to it. Maybe you have questions, maybe you want to share your biggest insight out of our talk today. That would be amazing. I can also imagine that you think, oh, I want to talk to Kaelin. So where can people find you, Kaelin? What would be the best way to get in touch?
Yeah, you can find me on Facebook. I also have a website. It's called Pave the Change. So it's PaveTheChange. And that has all my contact information. So it's still a little under construction, but I would definitely be happy to reach out and just talk and help, whatever way possible. Because life is a roadmap, and sometimes it's really hard to go through the gravel and the stuff underneath to find that road that we're meant to go through. But um, it's just one step at a time. Like I tell people, sometimes it's not even one foot at a time, sometimes it's one toe, and then the other, and then the other. And so you got this.
Yes. Oh, I love that. Thank you so much. If you didn't get the spelling, then don't worry. I am going to make sure that both the link that Kaylin mentioned as well as the links to get into touch with me are included in the show notes in the description below this video. So check them out. Feel free to reach out to Kaylin or to myself if you want to talk or just spar or if you feel cold. We would love to meet you.
Absolutely.
And for today, I just want to thank you, viewer watcher out there, for being here, for your support for this channel. And if you feel that this was valuable, then I would love it if you would share this video with your following. And I want to thank you, Kaylin, for being here and for being your wonderful self and sharing your story. Thank you.
Thank you so much for letting me come. And thank you again for watching and listening and being open. And we are both sending so much love and light. And I'm definitely sending big hugs.
For sure. Thanks everybody for watching. I wish all of you an amazing rest of your day today, and I look forward to inspiring you with another beautiful guest in next week's episode. For right now, have an amazing rest of your day.